Welcome to lesson 35 of course 2. In this lesson we're going to add, subtract, multiply, and divide decimal numbers. We're also going to divide decimal numbers by whole numbers. There is no new vocabulary for this lesson. Let's get started. When adding and subtracting decimal numbers, it's the same as adding or subtracting money. The most important thing that we can do is that we have to line up our decimal points. So if we were to line up these, to add these three numbers together, just going in order, we'd take our 3.6, then we'd take our 0.36, and then we'd take our 36, and we know the decimal comes after that whole number, so it look like that. You can fill in the zeros if you want. Then we'd add it up. There's our 6, our 9, another 9. So our answer to this right here is 39.96. As I go through this lesson, please try to get an answer. Try to beat me and see if you can find the answer faster than I can show you how to do it. So let's find the perimeter of this rectangle. Well, the first thing I've got to do is I've got to find my two missing sides. Because it's a rectangle, I know that these two sides are going to match up, and these two sides are going to match up. So now I just got to line them all up. So I'm going to take my 0.3 plus my 0.3 plus my 0.2 plus my 0.2. I'm going to add them up. 3 and 3 is 6, and 2 is 8, and 2 is 10. So I write my 10, bring down my decimal, and my answer to that question is 1 meter. One meter. That's a little m. All right, let's take a look at some subtraction. Most important thing is to line them up. So I'm going to do this one here over on this side here. So 12.3 minus 4.567. I've got to get a couple zeros up here. So my zeros I can't subtract yet. So I have to borrow from this 3, making it a 2, making this one a 10, borrow from that 10, making that a 9, put my 1 there. Now I can take 10 minus 7 is 3, 9 minus 6 is 3, but 5 can't be subtracted from the 2, so I've got to borrow again, make that a 1, make that a 12, which gives me a 7. And then 11 minus 4 is another 7. So my answer is 7.733. In our next example, it's the same thing. We got to line everything up. I have my 5 point, because it's a whole number. Then I have 4.32. Now I'm going to throw in my 0 so I can subtract. I can't subtract 2 from 0. I can't borrow from that 0. So I'm going to come all the way over here to this 5, make it a 4, make this a 10. Then I'm going to borrow from that, making it a 9 to make this a 10. Now I'm going to take 10 minus 2 and get 8. 9 minus 3 and get 6. Bring my decimal point down, and I'm done. 0.68 is the answer to subtracting 5 minus 4.3. And to check that, you just add 0.68. That's a 0. That's a 0. That's a 5. They match up, so we know it's right. You always want to go back and plug your answer back in and check your work to make sure that you've done it correctly. Now, if we multiply fractions together, we just multiply straight across. We know that we do that. So decimals work this or similar, so we're just going to multiply them. So we find the area of this rectangle of 0.4 and 0.25. We just got to multiply those two together. So if we take, I like to put the bigger one on top. I recommend you do the exact same thing. I've seen some of you do it a different way, but boy, for me, it can be really, really difficult the other way around. So I like to do it like that. Set up like that. Then I go ahead and multiply. 5 times 4 is 20. Carry my 2. 4 times 2 is 8. Plus 2 is 10. My answer comes out to be 100. But then I have to, because I'm multiplying, I've got 1, 2, 3 numbers that are behind decimal points. So I got to come over here and I got to go 1, 2, 3. So my answer is going to be 0.1 meter squared. You always want to square it because we're figuring area. And our formula is area equals length times width. That's why we multiplied the 0.25 and the 0.4 together. A ruler that is 12 inches long is how many centimeters long? Well, they help us out here. They tell us that 1 inch equals 2.54 centimeters. So again, all we're going to have to do is take our 2.54, put that up on top, and we're going to multiply that by 12 because we have a ruler that's 12 inches long. And then when we do that multiplication, 4 times 2 is 8, 5 times 2 is 10, carry 1, 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. Okay, second row, 4 times 1 is 4, 5 times 1 is 5, 2 times 1 is 2. Add those together, you get an 8, you get a 4, you get a 10. Carry 1, you get 3,048. But we've got a decimal right here, so we know we've got 2 numbers behind the decimal point. So we come here where our decimal is, and we're going to move over to 1, 2, put our decimal in there. So our answer is going to be 30.48 centimeters long. All right, let's simplify this. What does it mean when we have an exponent outside of parentheses like that? Well, it means that we've got to take whatever's inside that parentheses and times it by itself and do it 2 times. So in this example, we're going to take 0.03 and times it by 0.03. 3 times 3 is 9. Then we have a 0, X that out is 0, we have a 0, we have a 0. So we get 9, 0, 0. We got 4. We have 4 spots. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we start here and we go over 1, 2, 3, 4. So our answer is going to be 0.0009. Okay, dividing a decimal number by a whole number is similar to dividing dollars by cents by a whole number. When we use long division, the decimal point and the quotient is lined up with the decimal point and the dividend. So if we wanted to find the perimeter of a square that's 7.2 meters around, and we need to find out how long each side would be, we know a square has got 4 sides, and if all the way around, if the perimeter equals 7.2, we know that we're going to take 7.2 and we're going to divide it by 4. Most important thing you can do is bring this decimal point up and put it right there where it belongs, right from the beginning. Once you do that, then you just start doing it. 4 goes into 7 one time. That gives us a 3. You bring the 2 down. 4 goes into 32 8 times. 8 times 4 is 32. 0. Our answer is 1.8 meters would be our answer. That's how long each side is. Each one of these is 1.8, 1.8, 1.8, 1.8. You add those 4 together, you get 7.2. So let's try a couple more. Let's divide 0.0144 divided by 8. See if you can do this one. Do it a little quicker than I can. I'm going to go ahead and start, walk us through it. Here's our decimal point, so I'm going to bring it up right from the start. So I don't want to forget about it. I want to make sure I get that in there. Does 8 go into 0? It doesn't. Does 8 go into 0, 1? It doesn't. Does 8 go into 14? Yes, it goes in one time. 14 minus 8 is 6. Bring down our 4. 8 goes into 64 8 times. 8 times 8 is 64. 0. Our answer is 0.0018. The second one. We're going to divide 1.2 divided by 5. First thing you got to do, you got to bring that decimal point up. Do not forget to bring that decimal point up. Does 5 go into 1? It doesn't. And so you can put a 0 there or just leave it blank. 5 goes into 12 2 times. 2 times 5 is 10. Bring down our 2. We don't have, 5 doesn't go into 2, so let's bring down a 0. 5 goes into 24 times. So our answer for that problem is 0.24. All right, here are your problems you need to work on tonight. Hopefully you understand the importance of where to place the decimals, where to line them up. When you're adding and subtracting, when you're dividing, to bring that up and put it in the place where it's at so you don't get in the wrong spot. And when multiplying, finding out how many numbers are behind the decimal so you know where to move it after you multiply your numbers together. If you have questions, bring them to class tomorrow. Thank you for watching the video. We'll see you tomorrow in class.